Riverside.
We need a new jingle. I'm calling an executive order. We have to get a new jingle. We need something original.
We got to get a new song. We need a new song.
We can record it. I could upload it, but we need something that's more indicative of.
Are we on?
Yeah, we're on. We're back. Here we are again. Three guys, many games. Mid-season pros. I'm here with Vinny Sombrato, and I'm here with Rob Smalley. Once again, we're here to discuss the hottest topics in lacrosse news this week. Now, I'll update you on some of the standings. We all know that most of this was started on us picking the games, these expert opinions on picking college games and then ultimately the pro seasons. But you realize when you're doing it with the spread, it's not as easy as it looks. So the standings currently, Vin is still keeping that lead. He's got an 8-4 record. That's actually very, very good when you consider the spread. Me and Smalls are tied for second at 6-6, and coming in up in the last place, 5-7, are the fans. The fans get to choose on the story. As we put the stories up on Instagram, they get a vote on who they think will win. Whatever the majority is their pick. Their picks right now are 5-7, so they're in last place. They got some work to do, but it's not easy. Listen, the spread is there for a reason. It evens it out. You know, sometimes you win by that half goal, you lose by that half goal. But, Vin's this is the first time, this is the deepest into any particular season we've been where somebody else is leading other than me.
Mm-hmm.
What's your secret, Vin, this pro season?
I don't know. I just kind of went with the mindset that these games come down to the last minute a lot of times and they're close. So I've picked a bunch of underdogs. But this week has changed my mind. Now I'm getting a better grip on who's who in this, and the spread is not as important to me. You know, the underdog role. I think you had games that weren't one goal, a bunch of games that were not one goal games this weekend.
Well, we'll get talking into the games, but Smalls, you seem to still be in the same position you always are, kind of right at the bottom. What's going on with that?
Hey, well,
the laugh track.
I'll tell you what, I'm a bottom feeder. That's okay. I lay where the lobster lays. I lay where the good stuff lays, man.
There you go. All right, that's
you
good.
guys always enjoy eating me up. You love eating me up. You go after you like piranhas.
All I know is, if the fans can't get ahead of Smalley, there's a problem. There's a problem. He's in the lead of the fans. So, getting to this, last week's games that we just saw, the first game, which, by the way, on the fan picks, were 96% to like 4, 95% to 5, picking Atlas over the Whip Snakes. I was the only one of us three picked the Whip Snakes. And not only did they cover, getting the 2.5, but they won the game outright and looked pretty good doing it. What were your thoughts on that game, Vin?
Well, the Whips didn't look like much early on in the season, looked to be struggling a little bit, but they got an infusion of some new blood. Atlas looked unbeatable there for a while. I mean, the way they were playing, putting the points up they were playing, particularly on the offense, the attack side of it. But putting up all kinds of points, Teeth being on a record-breaking pace for scoring. But the Whip Snakes, they have enough leadership there. They got some older guys, I guess, that, have instilled some confidence in these young guys coming in. And this weekend's games, it was really the new guys. Trainer's been really the kid from Penn State, Trainer, right?
Malone.
Oh, yeah, Malone. TJ Malone. That's who I meant, Malone. Yeah, he's.
By the way, I said I got to know TJ Malone. Whatever arm pads he's using, I want a pair of those because they look really good.
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw them. He's got.
I seen there's a different pad. I see some of these guys wearing.
But
Yeah,
that brand looks actually very good.
yeah,
So
but
I'd like to try those.
he's been really good. This season is funny because you got tryouts going on for the sixes and all this kinds of stuff. So you got the All-Star game coming up. So the PLL schedule is a little inconsistent in terms of going week to week. You got buys in there and everything else. So these lineups are changing quite a bit as these coaches try to feel their way through it. And the
But
talent level.
the hardest thing, Smalls. Maybe you comment on this as a guy who's been around the game, and who's done businesses and different varying of teams. A lot of these teams are at a juncture where they're having to replace the old guard with new guys. And that's always hard because sometimes you got loyalty to older guys, but sometimes it becomes having to make that switch. With the Whip Snakes, you have a number of young guys coming in and being very, very effective where they started off slow and they're looking much better. Is that something? How do you think a coach with egos of professionals has to handle
That's a
some of
good
that?
point. Very, very good point, Stephen, bringing up. I just always say a lot of times you're right about what you're saying. Those guys have proved themselves, but there's something to say about hunger. These young guys, they're still fast. They might not have the big names out there, but they're hungry to get in there. So their work ethic might be just a little bit more valuable to be hungry to go score and to really make their game. And until they get a chance, like one of our things we always say, giving somebody the opportunity to get in the game and create. And sometimes kids could grow. They really grow from that. And sometimes it goes to the coaching. When does the coach realize, you know what? Let me give this young guy, maybe he has some attitude in the game or whatever. But you're right. Ego plays a role. These coaches, and they're somewhat got egos too. So
The one thing again, and I'm not saying I know anything more than what the coaches. They're there on a weekly basis on the inside of their own teams. The one thing I've found very strange throughout the Atlas, and they've had a great run. They got a tremendous attack that can put up a lot of points. They got a lot of great pieces. What was a strange thing to me is they've used the guy Troutner as the starting goalie. And I thought at first everybody's wondering because they drafted Enterman. When's Enterman getting in there? And he didn't play in the first couple of games. And you're like, okay, well, maybe just kind of bringing him along. Maybe they'll split halves or something. Then they were never really doing that. And not until this game where Whipsnake started to take real control of the game that they made a switch and took the guy Troutner out. And I don't think they took it negatively towards him, but Enterman finally got a little action, in the game. Is this something? What do you think, Vin? What's the goalie situation in Atlas? And is there any cause for concern for Atlas overall? The fact that they were convincingly beaten by the Whipsnakes who had been struggling.
Yeah, I don't know. There's concern. I mean, they had an off day, but look, Troutner was the established guy there. He had given them good years. I don't think it was a bad decision not to just take him out and throw Enterman in. But that's another coach's decision. He's going to have to feel it out. Maybe they'll split halves. Maybe he'll give Enterman a start, see how it goes with Enterman as a starter. But, what could you say? I mean, the team was 4-0 before this weekend with Troutner in the goal. He was playing fine. I don't know what his save percentage was off the top of my head, but
it doesn't help the goalie, though. You pull the goalie, you bring another goalie in. So psychologically, you're bringing the team down in a sense. You can look at it like that.
But
I don't know.
He's also the veteran goalie, okay? And the guy coming in is the highly touted alternate Tewaaraton winning high draft pick, best goalie in college coming out, and they don't immediately put him in. They don't immediately even say like, okay, we're going to split. They don't even immediately say it's your job. So what really is the story there? Like,
you just hope that they didn't give Troutner like a really short leash. He's feeling the guy on his, breathing down his neck, one mistake. So it makes it hard for a guy to play like that,
That's my point. Vinny's making my point.
yeah,
Thank you, Vinny.
but look, I think it's a good problem to have that you have two very good goalies that are capable. I think I don't think it was the goaltender that lost them that game the other day. They need to play better defensively overall, not just in the cage. So, look, I think they'll bounce back. I think they're a legit contender because they have a lot of weapons. But I think a lot of these teams are capable. The one thing I would say is that what to me separates a couple teams, Atlas, they're way up in terms of scoring compared to other teams. There are other teams. Whipsnake seem to figure it out a little better, but Chaos and Redwoods, they're really struggling to score. There does not seem to be offensive chemistry on those two teams right
Wait,
now.
Vin, who's struggling for our fans? What teams?
Chaos. I just said Chaos and the Redwoods. They've been struggling.
And I think you could even a little bit put the Archers in there the last few weeks. They've been struggling to score as well.
Yeah, but at least they're hitting double digits. Redwoods. I mean, they go like when it's a bad sign to me when a team could go 15 minutes, 20 minutes without scoring a goal. You're going 20 minutes of running in a game without scoring a goal. That's
that game, you're right.
So
this last week they had 9, 8, and 6. Those three teams.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying.
Broke double digits. I don't think you can win. Put it this way: I think it's safe to say they probably could bring out the analytics. I don't think you're winning games with single-digit scoring in PLL.
It's pretty tough to win a game with single digits. That low of a scoring game. The over and unders in these games were typically like 22 and a half, 23, so they're figuring, somebody's going to score some goals, but, they're going to have to adjust, I guess, the guys who make these lines. But it'd be interesting to see, how many teams stay consistent with a lineup. See, this is the hard part again. It goes back to what we said last week when I said about how much better the game could be if guys were playing all week together and all of that. You got guys who have commitments with jobs that they have, their full-time jobs, so to speak, and who can make a game, who can't make a game. Guy's got a wedding, he's not. You're not going to see in professional basketball, guy's got a wedding, he's not coming to the game. He's going to the game first. Right. Everything takes priority. Here, there's things that take priority over playing in some games. So you don't know what lineup you're going to get, who's going to be able to make it sometimes. So there's that inconsistency in lineups. But it still looks like, the higher-end teams, they're playing pretty well together. The Archers, they have a nucleus of guys that have played together for a while. I think they'll get it together. I think they got more concern. I think they didn't.
Let's move over. Let's move over to that game. Since that was the first game, the Whipsnakes Atlas was the first game on Friday. The second game on Friday, the Cannons came out bombing away, against Arches, and they broke a record of 5 2-point shots in the game, which essentially makes the difference in the game. They actually scored less goals than the Archers.
Yeah.
Overtook them because of the 2-point goals.
Okay, so isn't the Archers goalie the guy Dobson?
Yes.
So, you start in week 1 and everybody's talking about him being, him and Blaze for goalie of the year and the whole thing. Meanwhile, then they put 5 2s on him and they lose the game. And the game before that, he wasn't great.
Lit him up.
Like I said, the thing you want to try for in this league, as I see it at least, is consistency. If you can have consistency in play in all the phases of the game, you got a very good chance of winning. There are teams that are going up and down, left and right here, So and individual players. And like I said, look, Boston won that game with the 2-bomb. The other game, I'll stay on this game. I won't get away from that game. But they have shooters. The kid Campbell can shoot it. Holman could shoot it. Who else hit a 2 in that game? I forget. But Uh, you know, they won with the long range stuff.
Are
It's
they
funny.
are they are they getting the two looks because they're having to slough down to deal with the attack of Nolting, coming down and overpowering a defender maybe and having to slide down. And then leaving the guys on the outside.
I think if you have a good goalie, you usually do try to take play inside out and give the outside shot up, and and hope that your goalie's going to stop those long range shots. But uh, they probably learned a lesson from that, and they're going to learn to play guys a little more out on that arc. That they can't slough in so much, because that those twos are deadly. They changed the game. Like you said, the Archers outscored them. They scored more goals and lost the game, right? So,
Yeah,
and
I
again,
think that's a
that ended
time.
up. What was the
No, go ahead.
final of that game?
14-9.
Yeah,
You have to feel it out, how your goalie's playing, and maybe you got to think about adjusting and saying, you know what, we're gonna like basketball. A lot of times basketball, if guys are hitting threes, you start to see how a guy can get to the basket pretty free on a drive because a team is less likely to slide down and stop a guy from driving, from getting a layup for two and kicking it out to a guy who's shooting threes. So they say, well, we give up the two, and then,
yeah.
go down and shoot a three ourselves. So it starts to become like that too. Like if the team is really getting success shooting the two, do you start playing on the outside and maybe be less, leave each guy to their individual matchup, and if they get beat, and they're at the goal. Then the goalie's got to deal with it, or you're only giving up one at least.
I
So
I don't think these teams go into games relying on a two. I think they'll take it if it's there. But if you start relying on a two, or do the analytic like in the NBA, a lot of the guys they'll definitely pass up a layup to take a three. You see
yeah,
it. You see guys
yeah,
you say that
they
guy could
kick it
have shot
out,
that, and he kicks
right,
it to the corner because the analytics say to take the three. I don't
right.
think the analytic in lacrosse is that we'll do better by taking more twos. I think I think that formula you're going to get beat.
You got a good point there, but I'd like to see it a little closer, a little more 2-pointers. Give a little more
Nah,
to the game.
I wouldn't like
A
that.
little bit
I think it's
closer.
at the right. Little bit closer would really make it like you
No,
really had to guard these guys. I mean, it's
I
close.
think it would be more interesting.
It
no,
actually used to
I
be.
think it's right. I think the line is. I don't know what season to season where it stands right now, but it seems like that was just a game that was out of control. And
I
like
think it's
I said,
15. I think it's 15 yards, and I think when we started in MLL,
it
it
was
was
more.
15. No, it was 15
I thought it
yards,
was more than
and
that.
then they moved it out to 16. I don't think we were playing at the time when they moved it
Yeah.
out, and it was a little further out, and then PLL moved it back in, which I think the 15 that
Yeah, it's
range
good.
is a good
Listen, you'd be
range.
surprised. I
You
mean,
know?
if you probably checked on how many of those goals they do replay on, because a guy is like inches from the line. So a yard makes a big difference in that shot. You
That's
know,
true. That's true. I mean, yeah. I mean, I think
I mean,
that's
there are a lot of ones that they double check. Teams throw the flag that the guy's foot hit the line, did it not hit the line?
yeah.
But it's that close on those
I,
twos.
I bet you Smalley doesn't know this statistic. I'm still the only guy in MLL or PLL history to score a 2-point goal that bounced 3 times before it ever got to the net.
I didn't think it went 3 times.
It might have went three. It
I
might
thought
have
it
went
was
three.
two.
And then it
That
hit
was
a rock, and went in the upper corner
that was
on
a
Billy's
worm
head.
burner.
You
That
know,
was a worm burner.
this guy had to go get a snack. He needed a
Yeah, he
snack.
can, he can, yeah.
But at least,
First,
okay, good.
definitely
He's
the
giving
first thing.
icy.
Not the first thing he ate all day, guaranteed, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
it's the first thing I ate all day.
Okay, I know it. I know it. I know it.
Well,
Yeah. Get them as a sponsor. We'll get some sponsors. Don't worry. We're all right, guys.
the Archers lost 2 games in a row now, Smalls. Do you think they're searching for answers?
Finished. They're finished. They're finished. Two in a row. They
I
go
got
down
some,
three.
I got some concerns with the Archers. I think they have a great nucleus and they got a great team, but you see that there's something
Let's see.
missing.
You got to give them another game. 3 games. If they get beat by more than 4 or 5 goals, they're finished.
Well, you
You
can
can't
go on
lose 3
bad
games in
strides
a
in this
row
league.
and lose by 5. Because if they lose by 1, then you say, okay, like.
Well,
Listen, to me, in my opinion, the teams that are at more or less the bottom right now, I still see that those teams still have a chance. The only team that I would say I'm concerned the most about that are at the bottom is Redwoods. That something's just missing with that Redwoods team.
Yeah.
That
Who's on that? Isn't that?
Well, let's go to the net. Let's go. That was Friday night, and then Saturday started, and finally we got to they brought back the Outlaws after Brennan O'Neill's breakout performance from 2 weeks ago. We had to wait a whole week because they didn't get to play, and then they finally get out and they're playing the Redwoods, and I think the Redwoods came out a little bit strong, but the Outlaws have to me they have a very dangerous team. They have a lot of and a new name emerged as a scorer and a potential star in the league. The guy from Georgetown, Graham Bundy.
Oh, that guy!
Oh, I like
Listen,
him.
This
that
guy was
guy,
shooting
that guy,
rockets.
he's Bundy. That guy's like Ted Bundy with shooting. Let me tell you, that guy, he'd kill
He's
you.
a cannibal leader. He's a cannibal leader.
He
This
could
kid.
he could really shoot the ball. I mean, that guy's a dangerous shooter. He gets his hands free.
Do you remember, Vin? Do you remember at the end, when obviously Notre Dame pretty much controlled Georgetown? They got up a nice
The
little
game was
lead,
over,
and he
ripped
started
in 3 or 4 in a
like
row
it was
in the
nothing.
fourth quarter. No, the
Yeah.
guy is a freak shooter. I mean, he's got a great release. He overpowers the goalie. He's a guy to watch. I mean, he's
How many
a hammer.
points did he have?
He's like he's this year's version of a Ryan Brown.
Yeah, he had 4 goals, I think, in the game, and
Really?
every one of them was a rocket. And I think if you're scouting that team out, Cork said it very well. Cork knows the game. He's like, I don't know that I'd be sliding a Jason off of that guy.
No.
Letting him slide into the open spot, catching and ripping.
No, with that guy stepping into a shot,
yeah, forget it.
You're in trouble. He's very good. Look, obviously, when you watch these games, there are always snipers. There's different shooters, but there's just so many more of them today. Everybody can really shoot the ball.
How many did Brendan have? Brendan O'Neill.
Well, he was quiet. In fact, the one goal he did have, he got coming out of the box where he did a similar move that he did earlier in the season. He came out of the box, caught a pass. Guy was closing out on him, running like a, bull downhill, and he face dodged him and then put in a nice shot. So he was fairly quiet. They're definitely looking to, to the coaches, to Pseudo's credit, they're getting him the ball in different spots. So they're not just relying on, just on the attack. But going back to Bundy and how he's shooting, I mean, it's one thing how hard the guy's shooting, and he does. He's got a very crafty release. It's a deceptive release, but it seems like every shot he's shooting is hitting off the pipes.
Yeah,
every time
he's
he
on
shoots
cage.
one,
That's
it's
one
like,
thing. The guy is on cage. There's hard shooters, like what's his name's pretty erratic, but he hit a couple of 2s this week. Didn't he have 2 2s? The tall guy from Loyola, I forget his name now.
Romar Dennis.
Romar Dennis, I think he hit a couple of 2s this week.
Yeah.
And he can do that. He's got a nice shot on the run, hard the whole bit.
Yeah.
He's more of he can do it on the run.
Yeah.
Bundy's more of a step down, but Romar's a little more erratic. I don't see anybody who gets the ball on. Like you said, if this guy's not scoring, he seems to be hitting a pipe.
I think you gotta play him like we used to have to play Dave Evans.
Yeah.
Well, we're old timers, but Dave Evans could bring it. Dave Evans was a little bit more overhand shooting.
Is he the best on that team?
Who, the guy Bundy?
Yeah.
Well, you got O'Neal, you got the kid from Penn, what's the kid from Penn?
Hanley.
I mean, that kid, first of all, did you see O'Neal standing next to Hanley?
Yeah, Hanley's bigger
small. Hanley's huge.
Yeah, they got some trees on that team.
I mean,
Look,
that team is wild.
they got a nice team. That team is dangerous. So, look, all these teams have guys. There's really a lot of good players, and that's what makes it interesting week to week. That's what makes it hard to pick because the truth, I don't know if they posted.
Vinny, they got guys, but come on. They ain't got 3 guys. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I'm just
right.
trying to get a little joke in there. 3 guys, many games. We're more valuable than these guys. Come on.
That's right.
Where do we do our first post game?
I think that I don't know. I just we haven't quite hit the midway point.
No, but that game, Vin, they took over the game, Outlaws, and then the Redwoods just couldn't keep up. They didn't have the offense. They have Erlin. Redwoods getting possessions, and they still can't score.
Look, okay, you mentioned Ireland. I thought he did a phenomenal job. I was surprised he won as many faceoffs as he did with Wehrman. I thought that'd be a little closer percentage-wise. He did a good job, Ireland. He got them the possessions. Whatever the reason, that team is just not clicking. And they had a lot of bad luck. Pennell, they made a big thing of him getting shut out for the first time in how many years and everything, first time in this league and the first time in how many years. But he had a lot of bad luck. I think they said he was 0 for 10 shooting, but I know he hit a couple of pipes at least. He made a bunch of very good feeds that they hit pipes on. Sometimes it just goes that way. Sometimes they go in, sometimes they hit pipes, sometimes they miss. And then the whole game changes. But wasn't that the game where it was close and then somebody hit a 2 that kind of put it out of reach? When you hit. Oh, no, what was the game where the guy Ryland Reese ran down and he hit a 2? The pole ran down and scored. It was in the last game.
Yeah. But Pennell, I think that they have to figure. To me, Rob was the most dominant. He could dodge anybody. I said when we were playing with Whitmore, I'm like, this guy's unguardable. They can't guard him. Like one-on-one, forget about it, But I don't even think that's the best part of his game. And being older, obviously you slow down a little bit with that. What he's always had also is the field vision. They have to work better to be able to do some other things where they're converting him passing the ball. They don't seem to be getting the catch and finishes that they should with him because he'll find you. If you move around enough, he will find you with the ball, Rob. And they need to, that's the way to generate offense. If they can get better off the ball movement when Rob's delivering balls and they can finish, then I think that's their best bet.
Well, it looked like they were really face guarding Berg a lot, into that game. I think he had only missed like 1 shot that he had taken or something. He was like 6 for 6 or 7 for 7. He hit a couple pipes in that game. At least one, I remember. He got a ball. He's always dangerous inside, but Gonzi, he's crafty. He could do a lot of things. He's tricky. He shoots the ball hard. And then you got Rob. So you look at it and you say, look at that attack. And then look at what they got. I think their weakness may be midfield right now. I think they got to he's good. Bertrand's very good. I think they got to get a little more out of him. Dennis hit the 2s. Nakai, Montgomery, they seem to be using as a short stick D guy. He doesn't seem to be on the offensive side of the field. It's just
Henningberg, they're using a little at both spots, I think.
No, Henningberg's not on that team anymore.
Oh, no, he's not on that team anymore.
No, he's not on that team. Yeah.
But who's their other middies then?
I don't remember off the top. I don't have my laptop.
The fact that you can't remember them shows you that they're a little light in the midfield.
No, they're just coming on the field with the same guys over and over. But to get back to, we're talking about in that game, so O'Neal had that breakout game, 4th quarter, the week before, and he went nuts and put on a display, fireworks. This week, was it? I think he had 2 points, a goal and an assist. He got both of them late in the game, pretty relatively late in the game. But so guys say, well, he's all or nothing. He's 1 week he's good, 1 week he's bad. I wouldn't say that because watching that game early on, the way they were defending him, he was, and he said it on the sideline. I think he said because that other team had some Notre Dame. He says they're going to cover me. They're going to slide fast to me. You know, he knew they're going to try to double me and get the ball out of my stick. But he had made a bunch of very good passes in that game. I thought he was playing well as a distributor.
Here's their midfields. The at least what's listed for the Redwoods. Bertrand.
Right.
They're using Degnan. He's an attackman.
Yeah.
He's a shooting attackman.
Yeah.
Dennis, right?
Yeah.
Cole Kirst, you know.
Yeah.
The guy, right? One of the Kirst brothers. Nakai, you said, is more of a defensive midi. And then they have Ryan Tierney, who I don't even know that he dressed.
Well, I don't think he dressed. He didn't dress.
Then they have listed a bunch of D middies, you know, Tevlin, you know, who plays a little offense from time to time.
Yeah, he stays on.
They don't have a lot of offensive threats at the midfield.
Yeah.
You know,
that's where look, a lot of these games are won and lost in the transition part of the game. The 6-on-6 game is kind of tough. The defense, you know, most of these teams defensively, if you give them time to lock in on 6-on-6, they could do a pretty good job at stopping.
Oh, you know who didn't? I think one of their answers. You know, he needs to be on the field a little more. From when I was watching that game, is Chris Gray. He wasn't getting a lot of run, but when he went in, he hit a pipe right away, and he was.
Yeah. Well, he's adjusting too. He's playing out of the box, right?
Right. Yes.
So you know he's playing. You know, I mean, look. The truth is, you might put. I know they hate to put Pennell at midfield, you know, because he's a little older too. But I always thought, you know, when Rob played with us in summer league, I thought he was great as a midfielder.
Oh yeah.
And you know, he's able. He's not. He can play defense. He's not going to hurt you on that side of the field. He's an athlete. He plays good defense. And I'm not saying make him a D midi. I'm just saying if he got stuck on. But if he's playing either out of the box or he is transitioning, he's dangerous with that. You know, they need something. They need, like if Montgomery with his speed, they got to make a play. It's got to be like if the goalie makes
transition,
a save.
they need to open it up. They need movement. You're right.
Yeah, they got to maybe the coach has got to tell the goalie, listen, if Nakai's on short stick D, you make a save. I want you looking for him right away to give him an outlet. You know, get yourself open, Nakai, get the ball and create. Go right to the cage.
I don't think he's a 6-on-6 offensive player, Montgomery, to me. I think, you know, I mean, he's capable, obviously, but I don't look at him as.
No, they clearly don't either. They don't either because they don't use him that way, you know. But
the guy who could be is the kid Degnan, because he can float around enough, and he can be on the outside as a stretch shooter too. So he can do multiple things. But he's an attackman. It's like this is what the game is evolved to. You're playing 5 attackmen on the field at one time, basically. You know.
Well, we should probably know these things that we're on something like this and talk about it, like, you know, trade deadlines and stuff like that. But you know, some of these teams should try to make some moves and grab some guys, maybe out of the player pool, maybe out of making a trade with a team, you know, and try to upgrade where they're weak, you know. But like I said, this is a long season. This, you know, you're in the dog days of summer. There's no games this week, right? I think there's no games this week.
This week. We're going to pick them.
Oh, the next week.
Right.
The next week. I think they got like almost 2 weeks off or something, don't they? There's a break in the middle there, I think.
Yeah,
because I'm saying there's like no games, and then I thought there was an All-Star game.
Well, they got 5th and 6th.
We already had the week where there was no games, right?
Right.
Yeah, we had
5th and 6th, and then they go to Louisville's the All-Star game the 13th.
Right.
And then they go back to Connecticut the 19th and 20th.
Okay, so
you know, another 2 weeks
between that week, you know, between that All-Star game and that, you know, the schedule is a little funny. You got these teams when they play what they consider their hometown. They play a doubleheader.
Yeah.
Or they play twice. You know, all these things come into play. It's just, look, the best you could do is mentally, you got to be strong mentally. You got to be able to play with anybody that comes into play. You know, it's like, that's why the best players in this league, you got to be a bit of a chameleon. You know, you got to be able to, that's what lacrosse IQ has a lot of value. It's not like you got to say, oh, I never played with this guy before, so it's like you're totally lost.
Right.
There's certain rules to the game and how you play that should be consistent. And if you're a real player, you're plug and play. You can play with anybody.
But these guys
And
are traveling, Vinny. They're traveling from Connecticut to.
yeah, no,
No.
that's another thing. I mean, the traveling's not a big deal. But I'm just saying, when you're a real player, you have an ability to adapt to anybody else you're playing with. You know, and I think a lot of these kids are students of the game. I think that if let's say I'm going to be new on a team in this
Vinny,
league.
what do you think? Everybody's you? I mean, come on.
Yeah, that's
No, I'm just saying.
He's acting like he's talking about himself again. Another thing.
I'm saying I didn't not talking about myself. I said if it
They're
were
not chameleons.
me, if it was me with what they have available to them, if I was picked up by a team, I'm trying to give some advice, Balls. Take it that
All
way.
right.
If I was picked up by a team, I'd go on ESPN Plus and I'd watch 3 of their games and say, okay, where do I best fit with this team? How could I help this team? What
Vinny,
should
you're
I
not
be?
normal in the game of
It's
lacrosse.
got nothing to do with me. I'm just saying anybody should do this. It's got nothing to do with me.
What Smalley's making the point is.
Yeah,
is
I'm not trying to hurt any.
The way that players are now, the way players are developed now, unfortunately, they become one-trick ponies.
Well,
and it's hard to put multi-dimensional players who can go on various teams.
Well, if you're smart and you want to be helpful to a team, you know, you got to be a spoke. You got to be a cog in the machine.
But they're not trained
but
that
how
way
do you
now.
become that? How do you become that if let's say they pick you up out of the player pool, right? And you haven't even been watching.
Right.
And they pick you up in a player pool and they say, we're flying you in on Friday. Your first game is going to be Saturday. And a guy doesn't even look at any games or says,
"Oh, you know
I
what?
got my phone in my hand. Let me watch what they do."
I'm going to tell you why. Because now the way they're doing it is like, we need bulldog, attackman, dodger. And they go and pick that guy out of the player pool because that's what he does well. You know, they're not looking and saying, well, this guy, we can
I
do
understand that.
things
And that's
from him.
okay. That's okay because not everybody has the skill set to do all the different things. Not everybody is capable of being the shooter or being the feeder or being the dodger. But what I'm saying is to make yourself more valuable.
Yes.
If I am, like you said, a one-trick pony and I'm a shooter, I got to say, let me watch a little. Let me see where's a good spot for me to get. Let me see who the guy who normally looks.
Vinny, it ain't going to happen these days. It's like saying if I had wings, I could fly.
Well, that's what
that's right.
This is not a tough ask. If you're not willing to even do that, you're not a player. You're not a real guy.
But this is why
Vinny, they're prima donnas today.
This is
I
why.
don't think so.
This is why it's not that. I just think that's why you see the shelf life for guys becomes much less than in the past. Because if you were a guy coming out of college, when I was coming out of college, and you were well-rounded and you could do a lot of things and you weren't a cancer, you could stay around a very long time because you could do a lot of things. Now they can't. Now somebody comes in and they're like, well, I'm the shooter guy. And they're like, oh, but we just got this guy who actually shoots better. You're out. Goodbye.
Yeah, exactly right. And they're not coachable. Right.
That guy can't say, you know what, but I also get ground balls and I also play defense and I also play the wings and I also can play man down. You don't see that as much. You know,
I do see
the guy Tevlin. You know, Tevlin is like, he's playing with a pole, you know.
Vinny went dark.
I do see some guys going, playing a little what I would say out of character somewhat from what they maybe did in college or maybe what they did the year before for a team. I do see that here. And that comes also with age. You know, you adapt. You might have been a guy who went with the ball and then you're in a league 3, 4, 5 years. You can't beat anybody anymore. So you decide I'm better off if I set picks or I play off ball. Or I tell the coach, put me on defense, whatever. You know, if you want to play, you play. You figure out a way. You figure out a way. But all I'm saying, I'm not talking about long term. I'm even just talking about short term. I'm talking about you finally get your opportunity, at least spend an hour or two watching how your team plays in games and how different guys, you may never have played with a guy. You know, that's what I try to tell young kids. try to be good enough that you could plug in and play with anybody. Because there's certain rules: getting out of a guy's way, cutting back door. If your guy slides, follow him a little bit, get open, be the next pass, communicate. Those things are all universal. Do the universal things first, and then from there, go to your specialty. And that makes you a guy who can last and be valuable to a team. That's what's important,
Right.
because like I said, you just said it. You might be he's great shooter. And then there's 3 more guys. The Bundy comes along. He's much better than you. So now you're done. Well, why, coach? Why am I out? Well, Bundy's a better shooter than you. Well, but why am I out? Well, what else can you do?
Right.
You're a liability on defense. You can't play the wing of the face-off. You never get a ground ball, but you had a role for a while as a shooter, but now we got a better one. So, these guys should try to learn it and learn it from you. Now, I understand this too. The game has changed in that, the way these, even down to, I went and watched on those fields when you were coaching, Steve, the kids. Even in that, the coaches are like trying to micromanage players. Should almost be, they should have a tournament where nobody coaches. Just let the kids, no coaches on the sideline. Let the kids run it. Let the kids run the box. Let the kids play the game. Let the kids figure it out.
Let them learn the Sandlot way.
And that's why I say, the kids today growing up, they have much more, every, sports that they play and all are structured compared to, now obviously I'm much older, but we played in the park. You made up your own rules. You made up your own boundaries. You changed the rules on the fly because you didn't want to lose, but you figured things out. They don't have an ability it doesn't seem to figure things out the way we did because they're not put in that position to figure it out. You got a coach telling you everything you're going to do.
Control. It's all control. Everybody wants to control it.
Now, I think control is good when you're practicing. I think control is good when you're trying, but guys also have to learn to think on the fly, think for themselves. And if there could be a little more of that, I think you're going to see, the game progress even better. But I got no knock against the game, going forward. What I've seen over the last 10, 15 years, the skill level is ridiculous. All the things that the way these guys play, they're definitely phenomenal.
I think the guys that, excuse me, Ben, for the I think the guys now to jump back on the sixes, I believe the guys who are going to start to do good in the sixes are going to be good anywhere because it's so quick and fast that their value is going to be so unbelievable. I think these guys, whoever gets picked, I'd like to see who gets picked in the sixes. And I think
that's a whole nother, you jump to something completely different. If you're going to talk about the sixes, you're talking about no poles out there. You're talking about guys who can transition. You're talking about guys who probably played basketball. You want guys who understand how to match up, how to get back, how to sub. That first tournament they did, I think, which was like in Alabama when Canada mopped us up pretty good in the final game. You could see they were playing box. It's basically box on a field with an extra guy.
Yeah, exactly.
So they know how to sub better. They did a lot of those things much better. Now, we'll get better at that. We'll figure that part out because we got enough guys playing box also now. And I think you're going to see the game.
Get better. I don't know if you're ever going to beat them, man.
I don't know. I wouldn't sell the U.S. team short with that. I think they definitely can contend for that. It just that it's going to be a little growing pains, just like it was the opposite.
Who's coaching that for the U.S.?
Canada had a hard time beating us in the field game for the longest time, other than the 78 upset. Other than that, we beat them up pretty good until they finally, I guess the next time they won was, what was that, 06? Yeah. When you started to get an influx of Canadians playing in the States and colleges, up until then, they were mainly box players. So, it's an adjustment. It's all about time, how much time you spend on the field. And it also has to do with coaching. Got to have...
He's getting tired, Vin. You're wearing him out.
Passed out.
You better wake him up. Wake him up. You're boring him.
I don't know what position. Here's a guy. He already touted himself as either a second team or first team All-American. And He wanted to learn facing off
And
from.
Rick Beardsley said you got to get a new hat. He's tired of seeing the Tar Heels.
Tell him to send me a hat. He's in the business. I'm in the business.
So the last game of the week ended up Bill Tierney, legendary coach, finally got his first PLL win.
Yeah.
And interestingly enough, he got his face-off man from Denver, from the Denver College Pioneers, and he did an okay job. Low-scoring game, but they extended themselves on the chaos. They won 10-6.
Yeah.
And, I think they're a dangerous team. They lost very close games in those other games.
They lost all 1-goal games. They lost 1-goal games. So look, that was a great goalie matchup. Dylan Ward and Blaze Reardon going at it. They both were playing well, different styles. He's got a unique style to just about anybody in the league. Dylan Ward with his high arc.
He's got an old school style, high arc. He goes old school.
Yeah, he plays that high arc style and it works for him. But that was another hard-fought game. You're talking about they were possession away, and that's the one where the guy Rylan Reese came down and he banged the 2. That extended it out to 4, and then that was pretty much the game when he put that one in. But when you're talking about a game as a 2-goal game or something, you're talking about it's a 1-possession game. And if you got guys who are getting a face-off, you score and you get the next possession, you got a good chance to tie the game, But look, they were due to win a game, the Water Dogs. They were a little snake bit with those 1-goal losses. But they're going to be a tough team. I like their team too. They got to.
I never count the chaos out just for the fact that Blaze Reardon's on the team.
Yeah, he can keep them in games. They're tough defensively. Newman and he's and the other guy Rowlett has established himself as one of the toughest defenders in the league, if not the toughest defender in the league. He's very good. But I think Chaos is definitely missing Dane Smith. I think he was an initiator. He was a fire starter for them. They're missing him. They have some new guys in there that can really move. Minikis is good. But you're not going to win. You're not going to win games scoring that many goals. You got to find ways to put up goals. They were a team that was high flying a few years ago. They were, putting up, 15 plus at times. But their calling card is now kind of shifted to be defense more than anything.
I still think that the secret in the PLL, and it's easier said than done, but it is, to be honest, it goes back to simple lacrosse. You need to score goals. What's your best percentages? Your best percentages are getting goals closer to the goal. Well, in terms of shots, quality shots. How do you get quality shots? You have to have good ball movement and good guy movement. If you're, like you said earlier, if you're relying on 2s, or the goals you're getting are the struggle goals, you're not going to mount that many goals in a game. You have to have consistent, good ball movement offense. And then you'll score a lot of goals, with obviously hoping that you get the possessions. You'll get possessions because you're going to, because the shot clock is going to give you possessions, but you have to be efficient, and that will be the difference in winning and losing games, I think.
Yeah, well, it's look, these games are all. This was the first week, I think, where you had more than one game that didn't come down to last possessions or overtime. There's a little separation this week in games. These games, even though it looks like a game, you win by 4 or something, but it's really 2 possessions. It's still in the game, but we've had a lot of overtime games. We had a lot of 1-goal games. So maybe we'll see going into this weekend who can. In fact, you see it in the line for the first 3. In the line, the line had it. The first few weeks, every game was always 1.5. Now all of a sudden you're seeing 2.5s.
Well, let's.
Right?
Well, now we'll get to the point where we'll pick the games. We might as well go this section. We'll pick this week's games.
Oh, I can't pick
So,
right now.
well, you have to
got to do
pick.
an analysis.
You
You
have to
guys,
pick.
Vinny, you
you're
got to pick
throwing it off.
something.
You want to throw
You
off
have
my
to pick.
streak
No,
now.
I don't like the
I
way
have
he's
to
talking
do
to
my analysis. This is
Tachatera.
what I was just saying about players watching. I got to
Okay.
go do my study about who's playing.
He's
who.
talking. He's
We're
talking to
thinking.
all the players. That's what he's doing. Cacciatera, our friend Cock, our other friend. He's got inside people talking to him. This ain't right. And then he's making fun of me.
I didn't
So
talk to
the-
anybody. What are you
the
talking
first
about?
game, the games start Friday after the 4th of July. Everybody will enjoy their barbecue safely. And 4th of July, stay away from the fireworks. Watch fireworks.
I'll tell you one thing, Steven. They should hire me. The PLL should hire me next year. Next year, I would upgrade the sales in the apparel division by 40 to 60%. I would give everybody that comes into the goddamn league a nickname, a super nickname, like wrestling, like the WWF.
You are very good at nicknames.
I'll give everybody a nickname, and I'll say it, like the Barbarian, and underneath you have their name. Little
That's
name,
true.
the Barbarian. And then people are, it's the Barbarian coming today.
That I like.
And then the kid says, hey, Mom, there's a Barbarian. We grow it like WWF. That guy had a vision. Come on, hire me, guys.
I'm calling the Prince. I'm calling the Prince right now.
Call the Prince, bro. I mean, I love the guy. That guy's the greatest. I want to get him a robe.
The name, the Prince. He calls him.
I want to get Rabel a big robe. I love that guy. A big, long robe when he comes into the stadium. I'm not kidding. He's great. He's amazing, that guy. Really, when you think, let me tell you something about Rabel. Let me get a little piece of Rabel. A lot of you guys should give him so much praise. His cost and his passion where he took this league is bar none. It cost him a lot in life by always concentrating on lacrosse. He's put so much into the game. That guy, I tell you, I'm going to praise that guy forever. You know, he's unbelievable what he did, man. It really is.
You called him the Prince. I said you undersold
He is the
guy.
Prince.
I know, but it is. Once
said
it's
the
stuck,
king.
it's
You
stuck.
said the
I know.
Prince.
It stuck. The Prince stuck, to be
But
honest.
you
King, I
already,
think
you
the king
already
then.
labeled it.
The king, he's the king. He's the king. They went from the Prince to the king now.
I think he's the Prince.
I think he's the Prince.
I'm going to get him a robe. Let me tell you guys something.
We'll keep him as the Prince.
Let's get him a robe for when he comes to town here. He comes in a suite. Let me dress him up. Let's do a podcast up there. We get all the big shots. Maybe I'll call up Gary Gate because now that I'm very close to him, I can get him there. I get all these guys up to the suite. That would be crazy.
Yeah.
I hope it's sold out.
That would be fun.
All right, Smalls. Now, you're going to make a move this week.
I'm going to make a move. I'm going to go.
4 games. The first game, it's up in Boston. So Boston's playing twice this weekend. They play Friday.
Okay.
They play Friday night. Boston is 2.5 favorite over the Redwoods. I know who I'm picking.
I'm going with the Redwoods. I think 2.5.
I'm going with the Redwoods too.
Sorry, Cheryl. Cheryl said I'm loud.
Taking the 2.5.
What are you talking about, man? We're going to be rich someday, Cheryl. I got a podcast with the goat and his brother, the baby goat. All right, I'm screaming. I'm so excited. So we're going to make this very, very famous someday, like the WWF. Go ahead, Steve.
Let me think. Wow, you both guys went with Redwoods.
I think they're going to figure some things out.
Hey, Vinny, don't start thinking. I love you to death. You're a smart guy, but you might burn a fuse up there, Vinny.
I'm thinking about the fact that, Boston won based on all those 2s last week, They're relying heavy on the 2. At Boston, the first game, I think they're going to be ready to play. I'm going to go with Boston on that one.
All right, he went the opposite. Gave us a chance.
Giving you guys a chance.
All right, the next game is really the game I think everybody's anticipating to watch. This is the game I think everybody wants to see. Is Outlaws are playing Atlas. Atlas is minus 2.5 against the Outlaws are getting 2.5. I'm taking the Outlaws getting the 2.5.
I'll take Atlas in that game.
You're going Atlas, okay?
Yeah.
All right.
Vincenza.
I think I got to go with the Outlaws in that one.
Oh, I
I'll
picked
go.
2 games up on the goat, baby goat.
Here he goes.
I'm going with the
He's making his
Outlaws.
move. Smalley's making his move. Then you
Oh.
go to the next day. The next day, you got the Archers on -1.5 against the Whip Snakes.
Wait, Whip Snakes are favored.
Whip Snakes are underdog. They're getting a goal.
I'm going with the Whip Snakes. I'm the king, baby.
I'm gonna take the Archers. I think this is the week they might bounce back. I think
the Archers have to bounce back this week. I'll go with the Archers too.
Okay.
I think the Archers need this game.
That's a big win for them. They're gonna need it for sure. And then lastly, the weekend wraps up with the Water Dogs getting a 1.5 against the Cannons. This is another very, very tricky game.
Say that again.
I'll go first on this one. I'll take the Water Dogs.
Smalls?
Wait, say what you made a little saying. I didn't hear you said.
He went for the Water Dogs. They're getting a 1.5 against the Cannons.
So they're favored by a 1.5 against the Cannons.
No, they're underdog.
They're underdog. They're getting a 1.5.
I got to disagree with that. I got to go with the Cannons.
All right, so you're laying the 1.5.
Yeah.
This game is tricky, but I think the Water Dogs. I'm taking the 1.5 and going with the Water Dogs.
Yeah, I think the Cannons having to play the doubleheader. The second game's a lot harder.
In too, for sure.
And they're gonna have a tough one.
The picks are in. The fans should look for the stories. Usually around 24 hours before the game, they get to make their picks, and then we'll see where they're at and what's on their mind, and then we got a great group of games for the weekend to watch.
Before we give our shout out, so next week is the week we're gonna have the offensive and defensive coordinators for Notre Dame on.
Yeah, next week.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Not the same time, are we?
Yes. We got Chris Wojcik, and we got the offensive coordinator and Wellner, the defensive coordinator, coming on. They're going to explain this. We got to be careful. They don't want to expose the secret. About. We can't make them expose their secret sauce, how they win these games, But I want you to study some film before next week, Smalls. Study some game film on Notre Dame, offense and defense. This way you could ask some real serious questions.
Well, are they responsible?
Go ahead.
Are they responsible for the win, or are they New Jacks? How long they've been coaching with the team?
Oh, of course they're responsible for the win. They're part
of it. But how long are they coaching with the new regime?
I don't know how many years they're both at Notre Dame. They're both for a while.
But he's had 35 years, Vinny.
No, I know the card coach. We're not talking about Corrigan. We're talking.
I said, how many years are the other coaches there?
You're great. You are great. You asked me about the two guys. I tell you, I'm not sure, but it was before the championship, I believe. And then you tell me, the guy's been there 30. And I said, well, I'm not talking about Corrigan. And then you say, no, I'm talking about the assistants.
Vincenzo, you did it again to me. You
let
never fail.
Let him pick again, Stephen.
You go after the lowest bottom food. You go after the lobster. I'm Lobster Louie. Attack Lobster Louie like you guys do. The bottom feeder. I'm always at the bottom. Oh, my God.
Look, I want you to read half of these books I got on my bookshelf here. Look at
those books are all about lacrosse. That's the history of lacrosse in those books.
I'm educated.
I never read a book in my life. Why am I going to read one now? I became a multi-millionaire. Oh man!
So the next thing I want to talk about, it's near and dear to our hearts as we continue to play.
The goalie.
No, this week, a friend of ours, friend of the program, a longtime player, also an official, Danny Boltja from Long Island, he suffered a cardiac arrest on the field out at the Vail tournament. This week, the Vail tournament is going on, and he went out on the field. We know a few years ago this happened at Lake Placid, and I think there were a couple of incidents that happened at Lake Placid over the last 5 years. This happened out in Vail, and and the goalie apparently on the other team brought him back
Wow.
on the field. He was a doctor, the other goalie. The
Wow.
staff at the Vail tournament was prepared, and he got airlifted from Vail to Denver, got him stabilized, and he's having a heart surgery tomorrow. So we wish him the best. We also put up a post, his insurance is covering the surgical and things like that, but there's a GoFundMe that's going around for, I guess his family is going to fly. They're flying out there and going to stay for the time period that until he's able to.
What's the GoFundMe page? Can we put it out there?
Yeah,
He's
I put it
got
out
it
on
posted,
the
Steve.
Instagram. I put it out on my Instagram.
Well, can you say it now?
I mean, I don't know how to say the link. It's a link, and it's on
You got
my
to look
profile.
on it. Just look on
Can you
it.
put it on?
profile.
Can you put?
It's on my profile. You can get it on my.
Can you
profile.
hold it up? Maybe people will. They're
I'm
not
gonna
watching.
I'm gonna hold it up like this.
No, they watch it. I'm
link.
sorry. I thought they were
Go to
watching.
my Instagram. They go to the links on my profile, and it's there that they can make a donation.
Come on, guys, give something to the guy.
The cross community's always stepped up. Obviously that's a tough week for him. He's going through a lot there, and he's a good guy. He's one of the good guys. He refs a lot of our games out at the
Help the zebra, man. Come on.
But what do you make of this, Smalls? This is a lot of guys going down in these things. I tell you what, as a starting to be older guy, it makes you. I had said it to the Massapequa guys once in a while. Like, what do we got around here? If somebody goes down, you're at a disadvantage. These guys that go down at Vail or Lake Placid, they're prepared. You got to be prepared for these.
Well, I could say this. Danny is not a weekend warrior. He's in good shape. He's thin. He refs. He's active. So, this happened. You think guys are crazy, me included, that are playing in 40s, 50s, 60s. They even got a 70-year-old division, and you say it's a recipe for disaster. Just shows you how much guys love to just be around the other guys and play and compete a little bit and have some laughs. But it's not so infrequent anymore. Right. It seems like there's like one a year that this is happening. And you had it with Joe Brock, right, out in.
Well, Joe Brock was. I don't think it was as. I don't think he went into cardiac arrest, but he definitely had something that happened, and they got him. They tended to him pretty quickly. Yeah. But out there is more of a danger because there. I didn't know in the park there where there's an AED. I had asked guys. I said, we have to make sure that this is like.
That's why there's state law now, even for the kids, the defibrillator on the sideline in case they get hit in the chest with the ball. And
but we go to these tournaments, right? Like, where is it?
Yeah.
Where is it? It take you a half hour to figure out. You can't even figure out what field you're on.
They probably have to. But forgetting the kids thing for a moment, definitely at these Giza tournaments, as I call them, the Giza tournaments, you better be prepared because we laugh when we see some guys walk by who are coming to play, and you go, that guy just got out of his friggin' lounge chair 2 days ago. They're not exactly prepared to play in this kind of stuff.
And in Vail, you got the elevation probably.
And that too. You got the high elevation, the lack of oxygen. But again, Smalls and I just saw Danny Boltja he was reffing over at Hofstra. They had what they call the Metzger Cup, Nassau versus Suffolk, the 4 grades. And I, along with Jim Metzger, we were handing out. He sponsors the event, which is a great event for the kids involved. And so we were handing out MVP awards. And we went down right before the last game. And Danny was going to do the last game. And I saw him, and he was thin. He looked good. And I said, oh, you look like you're in good shape. He says, yeah, I'm heading out to Vail. I said, all right, good luck. Oh, come home healthy, last words. And then I, wake up to seeing this post that he almost did the Fred Sanford, had the big one.
Right. He did have the big one, man. And I think that maybe that's the notice to say, I'm never saying to anybody, maybe Smalls, you might have to take it easy and go into retirement. I don't know if you're ready for Placid this year, but maybe guys should get checked out a little bit more often. Maybe go to the doctor at least if you're going to plan on playing and do all of those things. Get your pipes checked.
Yeah.
Get all of that looked at. So
Either that or have the white glove. Somebody stick a finger up your ass.
Oh, take it easy. Take it
Well,
easy. Take it easy.
that won't kill you immediately.
I don't think you're going to
Heart
reach
attack.
all the way to the heart with that one.
Right.
We're worried about the guy's heart.
No, but you're right. You're right. God bless him. God bless him and his family, and they'll be okay.
No, he's
Yeah.
a good guy.
people,
He'll survive
man.
it. He'll be back. I don't doubt he'll be back reffing.
Well, if he's listening, we're thinking about you. We're praying
Danny.
for you and your family.
Love you, Danny boy.
Give him a
Love
hand.
you,
We'll
man.
be back. We'll be back.
I just met him too. It's interesting. I went on the field. Vinny said, "Come on the field." Him and Metzger, big shots. They're giving away the trophy, and there I am on the field. And I asked him if he wanted the water. I had water with him and the other big guy, whatever. I said, "Vinny, what's their names, whatever?" She said, "Man, I couldn't believe it, man. That's a shock." But nice man, very, very nice man. We wish him the best. So what are we going to do? Shout outs now?
Well, that was my shout out. My shout out was for him. But the other thing I really wanted to talk about is what's the deal for Placid? I know we got to be ready. People are expecting big things from you, Smalls.
It's big things, but I have to look at Vincenzo. Never does he have a plan. A man with all the plans in lacrosse. Outside of lacrosse, he never had a plan. He shows up anywhere, sleeps in beds all over the world. Never had a place to stay. You show up. 15 years I've been going to Placid. I'm like, Vinny, where are we staying? Well, we're going down 2 blocks. Make a left turn, and Johnny Blue. I played on that team with Jackie.
Charlie. There's no question he's last minute Charlie. There's no
Am
doubt.
I right?
No doubt. No doubt.
He's invited everywhere, though. You go to any house, they know. He starts walking. One day I'm walking down there with him. People say, Vinny, how you doing? You can stay with us. It's like 6 houses you can stay. I never seen anything
The
like
real
it.
question is he in capable shape to play in 4 weeks?
No, this kid, forget it. He's too worried about eating and like Cheerios. He's eating liver snaps. This kid, forget it. He's got a bad shoulder. He's got to go back to the doctor he knows who worked on him. This kid, he's done. He's finished.
So
go ahead. What say you?
Right now, you're putting the questionable tag on him.
Hey, forget questionable. He said no.
You're saying out. You're saying out. Smalley's got you out. Okay. All right.
Well, what do you mean out? He's got to say out.
Well, how do you feel, Vin? What are you feeling like?
My shoulder still. It's not. I got some issues with my shoulder still. I got some scar tissue developed. I saw the doctor. I have some mobility issues with it, but he said I really can't hurt it. The surgery is okay. That's okay. That's the good part. But he did say he probably would be best to go in there and just break up the scar tissue, but I don't want to do that for the summer. So if I could play with a little pain, I'm not worried about my shoulder as much as I am my legs, but I started getting into my routine again. I went with your son, my nephew, little Stevie, last night to the gym. We did some working out. We did some leg strengthening. And so we'll see. I'll play it by ear. Games are not all that tough for me, especially if I play attack or something. If I play midfield, it's a little different, more running, but attack.
So what's the story for our fans? Are you playing or not playing?
I'm doubtful.
Fitty, say it.
Doubtful.
But I might move to probable. In another 2 weeks, I might move to probable. But right now, I'm doubtful on the professional line.
So you're fitty.
Smalls, I got my own issues. I'm working.
You still with that issue? I just said it.
On my ankle, I don't know. My ankle Achilles, I'm a little. I've been taking it easy. I've been doing my walking. I'm feeling better, though. I will say.
You got to put that brace on. You got to think for that.
2 weeks ago, I definitely was like, wow, I got a problem. So I haven't played lacrosse. I missed a couple of my teams with North Shore. I missed a couple games. And I'm a little hesitant because
if you touch it, does it hurt if you touch it?
Certain
if you
spots.
touch it,
certain spots. But,
wait, if you touch it in certain spots, it hurts?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
God,
it's sore.
So we're relying on you.
We're relying on you to
hold it down for the 3 guys many games We're relying on Small. He says he could come in, face off.
Could you do
He's
a
got
face
those
off?
wrists.
Wait. Could you do a face off this year?
100%.
Could you go in the
If I was
65?
100%. If that guy taught me last week, we got on the big guy,
Tommy,
I'd be an All-American in college. I'd have been an All-American face-off guy.
can you take one face off in Placid this year?
Yes.
What division?
Now,
65?
the bigger question for that is.
Go ahead, man. Here he goes. I know he's going to say. The dome, but go ahead.
Can we get Ronnie Fraser's helmet? Because that might be.
I'm an 8 3/4. They don't have one. We tried this. He's an 8 1/4. I'm bigger than Ronnie Fraser.
One of the greatest of all time. But
If we can get you a helmet,
I'll get on the field. Yes.
And take a face off.
This is
because Tash, you got to say, listen, for all that you give Tash the business, Tash got put in a game, and the first game he went back, he made 2 goals. He made 2 goals.
40 years he played. You put him on attack. He stood by the crease. I'd have 6 if I did that.
All right, we want to see. All right, we'll put you on the crease.
We'll
put
get
you anywhere you want to be.
We're going to say, you know who's going to bring you a helmet? I'm guaranteed Tillman will be able to find some helmet.
Oh, yeah, Tillman's got a big
helmet. I'm 8 3/4, so.
Coach T will straighten you out.
We got to get him out there.
I'd be the first team All-American on Maryland. That's a hands down. That's not even close. I could do anything. Nothing I couldn't do. Seriously. But I do want to give, we gave that thing for the guy.
That's my shout out. My shout out was Boltja. You guys get your shout out.
Here's my shout out. 3 guys. Oh, this is big. Joe Bresci from North Carolina.
Joe Bresci.
And my favorite guy in North Carolina of all time, Chuck Bresci. Oh, I love Chuck Bresci, man.
That's your
and
guy.
I got to give 4 guys. Dennis Goldstein, how they remained friends. Dennis and Joe struck up a bondship when they played together. They stayed in the room together for years. They have an amazing, amazing combination of friendship. I'm the only guy to go down there and ride the cart with Bresci and Goldstein all around the campus. I went to a basketball game. I went to the last game. I was in the tunnel for the football. I did everything. And they took me to his house. I slept over Bresci's house. Then they told me I was in the wrong room. I was about to sleep downstairs. You know whose room that was? I can't say it. And the last guy I want to give a shout out to, Vinny's laughing, is Dan Levy, who's also part of that posse. 4 guys that are unbelievable that represent North Carolina, and those dudes are amazing, man. They really are, man.
And now I know why you wore the heels hat.
That's why I wore the heels hat today. I love the heels.
So what'd you call that? A special what? Bond ship? You called it a bond ship?
Yeah, the bond ship.
Yep. A new word. All right, it's a special bond ship.
Also, I want to give a shout out to the other guy.
It's a combination between bond and friendship. Bond ship. All right. You know the scary thing is, Stephen? I understand them at this point.
Yeah, well, that's it. You start to understand.
Oh, just for the fans. Just so you know.
You speak Smalley. That's
Speak Smalley. Just for the fans alone. I have no idea why I am friends with Vinny Sombrano and Steven Sombrano. If anybody can come up why we were actually friends, please write on the boards. Please, we want to know. We are not supposed to be friends, but we happen to be great friends. All right, guys, thank you very much.
Think, Dan? What do you got? Any other shout out?
You covered it. My shout out is for Danny Boltja also.
All right, so we'll
give somebody old. Give one guy an old guy, Vinny, a real old guy. Give me an old guy that was your mentor. You know, somebody.
Well, he's still around. We just mentioned his name. I'll give a shout out to Ronnie Fraser.
Yeah, Ronnie Fraser.
Great Ronnie Fraser. Taught me a lot about how to play the game.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah, a Hall of Famer. He was always very generous in his time with teaching people how to play the game the right way. And he knew how to play the game the right way. Also known sometimes as Boom Boom. Had the hardest shot in the game at one time.
Boom Boom.
Yeah, and
I'll leave you with one last verse. Go ahead, Ben. Get that out.
And I said, we miss Ronnie. He's up in Boston. We don't get to see him. often, but he definitely made an imprint and made me understand how to play the game much better. So
Wow.
like to thank him and give him a shout out.
And and I want to leave you with one last song, and I wrote this many years ago. It's on one of the top. I'll make it very quick. And I will always love you. All right, guys.
Oh Lord.
All right, we'll be off. We'll be off till next week. Next week we'll be back.
Absolutely, baby. We love you, man.
Bye.